Welcome to the new year, if you're getting back in the swing of things, and welcome to this new era. I can tell you officially, inauguration is 1 week from today. That's when the incoming president is, as always, sworn in. It's a moment of true living history. You saw it there in the Obama era. The nation watches the new president walk up there and take the oath. Of course, this will be Trump's second time. The latest New Yorker magazine cover has a political satire imagining the coming moment a week away with Trump edged out of the frame. That's just a little bit of his face and tuft of hair you see there. And look who's doing the edging. It is Elon Musk pushing him out of the frame as the main character. You could call this political cartoon satire a kind of commander of the chief. And it is a joke. Political cartoons have a long history, but the joke plays on some real concerns about this unelected billionaire wielding so much power. And the blowback for Musk right now is not only coming from liberals or nonpartisan good government experts, it's coming from all over the place. Take MAGA firebrand Steve Bannon, using his conservative influence to try to push Musk out of what has been his big Trump access lately. Bannon declaring the billionaire evil and announcing a mission to take him down and push him out of Trump's inner circle. So he's going to get Musk kicked out, Bannon says, as soon as next week. And he got specific. He vows to block him from those coveted blue passes, which have the access, quite literally, through security protocols to the White House. All of this building on attacks that Bannon has launched at Elon Musk since last year.
Musk is a total and complete phony.
This guy lives on government contracts and taxpayer subsidies. All you are is a globalist.
Now, many new administrations have infighting over access. This one is starting out louder and harsher than most in recent history. And because Trump will be a one-term lame duck president, his team is facing extra pressure to be fast, to be united, and certainly not to waste a lot of time or energy on this kind of public infighting among top people. I mean, Bannon chaired the first Trump campaign that won. Musk is sort of a co-chair, co-president style person, depending on who you ask. These are big folks to be fighting in public. Now, Musk's spending advisory group has started talking to government staff. They're the ones inside the government who actually will shape the spending decision. Musk is using his group's name to promote crypto he owns. We did a special fact check on that. He's also signaling some of those big claims about cuts that he made were overstated. He also juggles conflicts of interest because his companies have so many of their own contracts with government agencies as he demands spending cuts, but not for his own many government contracts. Meanwhile, billionaires and tech leaders are jostling to appease a brash leader who demands loyalty over truth. There are some comparisons here to George Orwell's 1984, the infamous book and movie later, and its depiction of an oppressive, overly powerful government. So if you say, gosh, is it a little early to be going Orwell? We're a week out of inauguration. Well, I can tell you one of the Orwell comparisons is actually coming from a Trump ally, Facebook founder Mark Zuckerberg, but he was describing in a new interview the federal guidelines against medical and vaccine misinformation.
It's something out of 1984, one of these books where it's just like, it really is a slippery slope.
That is Zuckerberg's idea of an Orwellian attack. He was talking about mostly Biden-era COVID policy in his new interview with very Trump-friendly podcaster Joe Rogan. Although when it comes to government overreach, while Zuckerberg is playing the Orwell card on the outgoing administration, it was Donald Trump who embarrassed Zuckerberg by announcing quite recently that he, the president-elect, thinks the Facebook founder bowed to Trump because of his past threats.
Do you think he's directly responding to the threats that you have made to him in the past?
Probably. Yeah, probably.
Probably. Yeah. That's serious stuff. It would be up to Mark Zuckerberg to publicly rebut that claim if it is not true. Trump had threatened to literally jail Zuckerberg. And as with so many other Trump claims, vows, and threats, We have to deal in evidence. You don't have to overreact to every post on Truth Social, but you have to deal seriously with someone who is a week away from becoming the commander-in-chief. And I can tell you this, if you haven't seen it, there are reports Facebook took it seriously after those comments. Meta's security teams analyzed how Trump could weaponize DOJ and intelligence against Zuckerberg. That's according to a person who anonymously spoke to CNBC with knowledge of the situation. So, Zuckerberg's team took it seriously. Zuckerberg also now adding a Trump ally to his company board, and he has cited Trump's win directly as his reason to end fact-checking online, which had reduced the belief of Facebook users in certain lies and had also affected their spread. Here was that unusual announcement.
First, we're going to get rid of fact checkers and replace them with community notes similar to X, starting in the US. We're going to work with President Trump. We're going to catch less bad stuff, but we'll also reduce the number of innocent people's posts and accounts that we accidentally take down.
We won't catch as much bad stuff. We're going to end fact-checking. And all why? Not because of some independent reason or even a business reason, which, of course, businesses make business decisions about profits all the time. In fact, we've aggressively covered the facts around Zuckerberg and Facebook's conduct on that score around the world for years. But he didn't give a business reason. He just said because of the election. Now, Zuckerberg's making a big show of turning towards MAGA and this Trump alliance. We can report that he met with Trump on Friday. You could see his private jet. This has been identified, credit to the New York Post there, as Zuckerberg's jet that he was using that day next to what you see there, Trump's. And here's a little more from that new Zuckerberg-Joe Rogan interview.
It was just never accepted by people broadly. I think people just felt like the fact checkers were too biased. Not necessarily even so much in what they ruled, although sometimes I think people would disagree with that. A lot of the time, it was just what types of things they chose to even go and fact check in the first place. So, I kind of think, like, after having gone through that whole exercise, it I don't know, it's something out of, like, 1984, one of these books where it's just like it really is a slippery slope, and it just got to a point where it's just, okay, this is destroying so much trust, especially in the United States.
So there you have it. If you're keeping track of the dystopian name calling, well, Zuckerberg got in, started the year early, saying the other people are Orwellian. Now, as I've mentioned, there are things people don't like about all kinds of companies and what they do. This is not the government directly, although clearly Zuckerberg is trying to curry favor with the incoming government, but he is saying that he'll reshape Facebook and Instagram basically towards what Trump wants. Elon Musk already did that when he took over Twitter. And that means a majority of social media users in America are going to now see a different stream of information tilted towards those goals. If you care about the truth, if you are interested in why and how people are learning things, then whatever you use to get the truth and facts and information, say possibly multiple news sources or accredited journalists, it's good to keep track of the fact that a lot of other people are going to be getting this. And a heck of a lot of people don't read a lot of news directly. They go on the internet and see what comes to them. Now then, the other most popular social site, and this is important, I've just talked to you about a couple of them, now I'm turning to another one, is a site you've heard of that has not yet, at least, not announced the kind of political change that we've heard from Musk and Zuckerberg. And that's TikTok. And there are many fair concerns about that site. We've covered that too. But TikTok has been a big platform for people across the spectrum, left, right, and in between, in America to share views on the presidential debates, on politics, civil rights, abortion rights, all kinds of issues. In fact, we've often aired clips from the robust political activity on that site in our coverage, because we have pulled the videos and shown you what people are talking about, and oftentimes what Americans are saying back and forth. But that remaining non-Musk, non-Zuckerberg, non-MAGA platform is now facing its own deadline to completely shut down U.S. operations if its Chinese parent company does not sell its U.S. part. The Chinese company ByteDance is saying it will just shut down to comply with a new U.S. law by next week. So this is a huge deal. It's probably gotten less attention than other things. It'll be a really big deal if it happens. A last-ditch appeal to keep TikTok open has just hit the Supreme Court. And the justices had a bunch of questions which led many to think that this court will allow the TikTok ban. In other words, they will not step in and save TikTok next week. Now, here's a quick key moment where the Chief Justice suggests the court may view this as more of a national security priority, where the United States can and has every right to step in and use its power to block what it believes are basically Chinese intelligence operations. So it's not really about, according to the question, American speech.
ByteDance, subject to Chinese laws that require it to assist or cooperate with the Chinese government's intelligence work. So are we supposed to ignore the fact that the ultimate parent is in fact subject to doing intelligence work for the Chinese government?
That is a big question stated clearly. That's the Chief Justice of the United States saying, you've got an adversarial intelligence operation, and it's on tens of millions, hundreds of millions of Americans' phones potentially, and the Congress wants to stop that, and you're asking us to say they can't? Legally, the point is simple. If this app is gathering intel for an adversary, the U.S. government can block that, period. That's what the Congress argued in its powers, and that's what the Chief Justice right there seemed to be sympathetic to. Now, let me play for you the answer in part. I'm keeping it pretty simple, although we've jumped around through a bunch of social sites right now that are going to define how your neighbors and maybe you see the world in the coming years in the Trump era. Here's TikTok's lawyer saying, no, wait a minute. Has Congress ever shut down an entire speech platform?
This is a pretty unprecedented case. I'm not aware of any time in American history where the Congress has tried to shut down a major speech platform.
That's a decent answer. And the times they are a-changing. So just because Congress never did it or even had the technological know-how to do it, because now you can block app stores and other things from serving up the app, serving up TikTok, doesn't mean they can't do it to meet new threats. And that's how the Congress originally viewed TikTok, as a Chinese-backed intelligence threat. Yes, there's a lot of speech on it, but they argued, well, the back door was for an adversary. And yet, if this were a movie, as with so many other stories in the last few years, you might say, gosh, we're jamming a lot in. So you're telling me there's basically 3 big social media platforms, 2 go MAGA, and the other one's about to shut down on the eve of the swearing in of the new president that I showed you at the beginning of this introduction? It's not all a conspiracy. It's not all coordinated. Some of these laws, as I mentioned, were written long before anyone knew the outcome of the election, but it is all coming at us fast, and it is a heck of a lot of billionaire, tax-cutting, pro-MAGA pressure to change whether you get information and whether other people have any kind of fact-checking. So given our interest in the politics here and the facts, guess who's Bazak, as they say, Michael Steele, on Facts and Politics in this big story when we come back. We're back with MSNBC weekend host Michael Steele. Welcome.
Hey, man, good to see you.
Good to have you. I walked through the perfect storm of stories around these 3 different social media platforms, Zuckerberg running both Facebook and Instagram. And there's technology there, but it seems now to be much more than a tech story. It seems to affect information and democracy. Your thoughts on what we just laid out above?
Look, you connected some pretty big dots here that run the gamut of the ultimate suppression of information, the elevation of conspiracy and mis and disinformation. And more importantly, mainstreaming it in such a way that, as you noted at various points in your lead, it's hard to tell. People can't tell necessarily what the storyline is, what the truth is. And Zuckerberg himself, was fancifully talking about, we're sitting here, we're looking at this, and we're seeing that people can't necessarily see or hear or understand this a certain way or a different way. So we're just going to take out the guardrails and just let them interpret for themselves. Let's redefine what facts are. So yeah, this is a setup for the second term. It has been part of a series of narratives and storylines along the way. Steve Bannon has largely been orchestrating it. It's a little bit laughable to kind of watch the dance between him and Elon Musk right now, which has been going on for quite some time, because Steve, game recognizes game, baby. All right, he knows exactly what Elon was up to. He's trying to, you gonna move in on my turf? You gonna move on my ground? That's why he's suddenly such an evil person. Now, if he just stayed in his lane and just continue to use his money and authority that he has to benefit Donald Trump, while all the other, players got to do their thing, that's a different story. But yeah, these three pieces do connect in a way that I think is very telling about how this incoming second term for Trump is likely to play out. It's not just the bending of the knee by Bezos and Musk and others. And it's about what they do once they bend the knee. And that's the part that comes next.
Yeah, I think that's well put. And the difference between journalism, which has plenty of criticism and some of it's valid, and these businesses is that the businesses never said they were trying to do fact-checking anyway. Right. I mean, take even an outlet that people might not like. Think of your outlet you don't like. If it's a reputable outlet, it would never announce we're not fact-checking anymore. It wouldn't even make sense,
right.
Whereas some of these businesses can do that. While I have you to start the week, and I reminded viewers, Michael, that inauguration is now 1 week away, and everyone can kind of shake off a few things and cobwebs and begin anew. Hopefully people got some rest or replenishment. We like to look at it big, and I wanted to get your view on the larger picture of how America looks in the mirror and where we go in the weeks ahead. Teeing off the culture, where we heard from Jeff Daniels, whom people know from all kinds of work, but he's been in a bunch of political films, as some folks might know. And we just heard from him. I just had him on the program on one of my series, and he said something really interesting. I want to play for your reaction on the other side.
Yeah, they've won for now. I mean, I've always said November 5th was we're going to find out who we are. And we did. But maybe it's, if you want to have some hope, maybe it's who we are now.
Michael?
I agree with that. I've been saying it for 2 cycles, 3 cycles now. We are who we are. We are where we are because this is where we want to be. America doesn't move itself into the throes of MAGA and Trumpism unless it wants to be there. You don't make yourself into that space unless there's an underlying thread that you are pulling that pulls you closer or more into it. So I think Jeff is exactly right about that analysis. I'm a little bit skeptical about the other side of it, that, for now, the question is, how long is for now? And we'll see. I can tell you this, 1 week from this hour, America will already begin to look and feel very differently because the executive orders that will be implemented at 12:01 p.m., that day will begin to set in motion a different reality for a lot of people who think this is where they want to be. And that will then answer both my and Jeff's point about where we are and who we are, because our response to those executive actions, our response to this leveling up of authoritarianism, in whatever form, meek and mild it may first appear, will tell us a lot about what America looks like 2 Mondays from now.
I got about a minute left. What do you say to people who are back from break, but looking at everything, including what people are going through in California, and feeling like exhausted? Maybe they'll sit it out for a couple of years. What do you say to them?
You can't. You can't. That wildfire in California is representative of so much right now. It's representative of the fire that's burning in our culture, the fire that's burning in our politics, the fire that's burning within our families. There's so much about the destruction that we're seeing there and our response to it. Very similar to our response to COVID, throwing up conspiracies, going after the political leadership because you don't like them politically. Donald Trump, berating the governor of California because why? He's a Democrat. We all know the story there. The last time in 2018, there was a crisis in California. What did he do? withheld resources. Why? Because they didn't vote for me, until he realized the folks in San Diego did, and then he gave them resources. Those fires that are burning are painful on so many levels, so you can't sit out. You can't sit back and act like, well, we'll just wait till this is over. Baby, there won't be anything left if you let the fire burn. That's why we're trying to put it out on so many levels, in so many ways, my friend. My heart goes to those good people in California. The stories that we're hearing are not just stories of an individual pain, but a bigger pain for all of us.
Yeah, and you know, there's what happens and what you do about it, and what you're saying reminds people that facing it, and what some of the, and this is should be, I would hope, a nonpartisan point, but facing it with resolve and community together, right, is part of what people have to do. Because what's the alternative when your neighborhood's been savaged like that? And I think we all know people out there who are going through it.
That's right.
Michael Steele, thank you. Let me tell folks where to find you. The Weekend on MSN. Go ahead. Say it.
No, I was going to say The Weekend, baby. Just check us out Saturday and Sundays, 8 to 10 a.m. Alicia and Simone and Michael. There you go.
There it is. No better way to start your day off. Thanks to Michael. Let me tell folks, by the end of the hour, I will tell you exactly where you can find Rachel Maddow, because it's going to be a lot more than once a week. That's a programming announcement we have here later tonight. But first, the confirmation. The story that continues to grip the nation, these worsening, ongoing fire conditions in California. Crews continuing to struggle to contain what are devastating flames. These have been tearing through the L.A. area for, if you're counting now, 6 straight days. The strong winds fueled deadly fires last week, and those types of winds are now expected to pick up again tonight, which brings with it the possibility of not only the rapid spread of current fires, but even more fire zones. Officials have confirmed now 24 people have died, dozens missing. When you count this all up, it is very hard to give people outside of L.A. a full approximation, but here's one way to think about the area covered. These fires have now already scorched 40,000 acres. And while LA is vast, we've been covering the damage of so many homes and communities in this city. It has damaged or destroyed over 12,000 buildings, including many homes, residential areas. There's a video that was obtained here by the New York Times using a Nest camera outside a Palisades home that captures how this works, how these flames grow and quickly approach these homes. The homeowners were watching in shock.
Watching that footage is devastating to us. This is the worst case scenario playing out in front of our eyes right now.
That's what people are dealing with. The fire crews made progress in containing what has been the largest blaze. The Palisades fire is more contained at 14%, while they continue working long, punishing hours, battling to contain these blazes before, as mentioned, those expected high winds may return.
We showed up here yesterday morning about 5 a.m.
You haven't slept?
Not really.
But you're going to go as long as it takes?
Yeah.
How tough has it been fighting the winds?
Yeah, you can't really beat the winds.
We come to win, and you can see one house is standing, but our goal is for all of them to be standing, so this is hard to see for sure.
This has been a rolling story in real time, with people sharing information, videos. Social media has provided information, but many families have to simply return still to their own neighborhoods to try to identify the damage of their particular home, many finding homes reduced to rubble.
It was like our dream come true that we worked so hard to get here, and now to see it this way. I never thought I would live through something like this.
There is shock, pain, loss, much of the devastation heartbreaking, and often an equal opportunity disaster affects so many. We are also seeing, and we want to report this alongside our coverage of the very latest in the damage and the danger, what you see on your screen. People coming forward with acts of kindness, volunteering, humanitarian work. These are hundreds of volunteers who basically came together to donate clothing and food to fire victims at a Santa Anita racetrack, even as the fires continue to blaze. This is happening in real time as well. People trying to help each other however they can. Also, here was a reunion of a man and his dog who was missing for 5 days.
Oh, honey! Oh, honey! Oh, my God, you're alive! You're alive! Oh, honey! Oh, oh, thank you, God! NBC! Where's NBC? Where are you, Liz? Thank you! Oh, honey, thank you!
Every house, every neighborhood has its own stories. NBC's Allison Barber live for us in Altadena. What are you seeing today, and what are they worried about tonight?
I mean, Allie, you know, in the coming days, it really is concern about those winds. Forecasters have said the gusts could be between 50 and 70 miles per hour. Let me show you where we are, because this is a command center for search and recovery efforts with the Eaton fire. There are still people missing, and these teams have been going in and out of the impacted areas, searching for people who are missing and trying to recover remains. We're going to not go too far in that area just out of respect for the work that they are doing. But this is one of many reasons fire officials say people cannot come back into a lot of these mandatory evacuation zones in the places that were hit the hardest, because they say, and this was a quote from an official this morning, we are literally searching for the remains of your neighbors. There are at least 24 people reported missing. What the teams here have told us they are doing, they are on day 3 of a grid search trying to find remains of people in this community. They expect that they will be here for at least 7 more days based on just where they are right now as of this morning. They say they're prioritizing their search on going into areas where they had what they call incomplete 911 calls, where someone called when the fires were at its height and there was distress and that phone call disconnected. They're also going to areas where there were reports by family members or friends that someone has been missing or they can't get in touch with them. The death toll officials have said will likely rise in the coming days for people who did survive this. When they come back into these communities, what they're seeing, and you can look right here across the street as some fire teams move through, is just absolute devastation. Another thing that we see that continues to happen and is a concern tonight and really every day as they're still trying to get these fires contained are the safety hazards that are still around. There are power lines that are down, live wires that could hurt people. There's trees that have been burnt. The roots are gone that could collapse and fall on people. On top of that, in a lot of these buildings, they have multiple levels and many of them have basements. And what happens, and we can walk across here together so you can see a little more, what happens is when these buildings collapse and pancake on each other, heat gets trapped underneath, particularly in like those basement areas. And brick and concrete really holds that heat. And so when it collapses and the heat gets trapped underneath it, then you can see hot spots, fires reigniting. We've seen in one building in this area 2 different days when we've been here, it has looked like that building is not an active fire. There's no smoldering, there's no smoke. But then a couple of hours later, we see fire teams coming back to it because flames have reignited inside of that building. And they once again have to come over with a water tanker because a lot of the fire hydrants in this area are marked off with like what looks like crime tape, but it's not crime tape, it's from the fire department, but saying that that fire hydrant is not working. And so they're coming in with tankers, tanks of water, connecting their hose to that and then fighting these fires that way. But the destruction, the devastation, and I know we keep saying it, but we keep saying it and showing it because everywhere you look, every neighborhood you go to, it seems like you find new buildings that look like this. These are family businesses, a lot of them. This is the heart of Altadena, the downtown area. And most of the buildings, a lot of them just look like this. There is nothing left, nothing to salvage. And this is true of homes as well. We've spoken to so many residents who are frustrated that they can't get back home, but officials say it is for their own safety. And right now, in this area where we are, they are actively searching for the remains of people who are missing. And at times they say their efforts have to be focused on checking for people in bathtubs, where people often go to seek shelter when fires get closer, and also in pools, because they say as the fires were encroaching, that oftentimes that is where people run because there's a source of water and they think maybe they will be safe. The question and the worry here is how high can that death toll rise? Again, at least 24 people are said to be missing right now, and the efforts to recover remains and find those people, it is ongoing both here in the Eaton fire area and also in the Palisades. Ari?
Ellison Barbara walking us through quite literally some of the devastation behind you. Thank you, and I wish you and your team stay safe through all this. Let me tell folks what's coming up. The Fire's leading our broadcast as they have throughout the week, as everyone goes through that out there, and we wish them the best. There's a lot of other developments starting the week, though. Democrats have some plans for these first confirmation hearings. Later, we have some big positive news about why you'll be seeing a lot more Rachel Maddow on MSNBC. That kind of in-house programming note by the end of the hour. But first, I want to turn to our special report. It is about big tech, democracy, 1984, and your rights, along with Michael Steele. I have all that.